If you're a millennial, you might know the feeling of being fine on paper while still feeling behind inside. You can be doing everything you were told to do, working, improving, staying responsible, and yet your mind keeps scanning for what you're missing. You finish one goal and immediately feel the pressure of the next one. You get a small win and it doesn't land as relief. It lands as a reminder that now you have to maintain it. And even when life is stable, your body can still act like something is about to go wrong. Achievement anxiety isn't just wanting to succeed. It's when success starts to feel like emotional safety and anything less starts to feel like risk. It can show up as constant self-evaluation, difficulty resting, and a feeling that you're only allowed to relax after everything is done. But everything is never done. There's always another skill to build, another milestone to hit, another standard you're supposed to meet. And that creates a loop where your life becomes a series of deadlines, even when nobody is giving you one. Research shows that anxiety often increases when the rules for success feel unclear or unstable. For many millennials, the path that was supposed to lead to security didn't stay consistent. Expectations were high, competition was visible, and the cost of being wrong started to feel expensive. Studies suggest that when people experience uncertainty around stability, the brain leans toward control strategies. Achievement can become one of those strategies because it feels measurable. You can't control the world, but you can control your output. You can't control the economy, but you can control your performance. And if you've learned that performance is the safest thing you can rely on, it makes sense that you keep returning to it. This also ties into identity. Psychological studies indicate that when a person's self-worth becomes strongly linked to accomplishment, their nervous system treats goals as more than goals. It treats them as proof of being okay. That's why procrastination can feel so intense. It isn't just delaying a task. It can feel like delaying your chance to feel settled. And that's why finishing something doesn't always feel satisfying. The brain doesn't register completion as safety if safety was never guaranteed in the first place. It registers completion as temporary. There's also the attention environment millennials grew up in. You didn't just compete with classmates or coworkers, you competed with exposure. You saw other people's progress constantly, sometimes without even meaning to. Recent research suggests that repeated exposure to comparison cues can shape self-evaluation even when you understand, logically, that what you're seeing is selective. Achievement anxiety grows in an environment where you can always find someone ahead, someone optimizing faster, someone making your current level look like a starting point. And the mind quietly turns that into pressure, not because you're shallow, but because your brain uses social information to decide what enough looks like. Achievement anxiety can also be a nervous system story. Many people describe it as thoughts, but it often lives in the body first. Restlessness, tightness, a constant mental hum. The feeling that you should be doing something. Researchers have found that chronic stress can keep the body in a more activated state, making it harder to fully shift into rest even when you have time. If your baseline has been shaped by constant demands, financial pressure, or the fear of falling behind, your system may treat stillness as unsafe. Not because stillness is actually dangerous, but because stillness removes the distraction and leaves you alone with the uncertainty. This can affect relationships too. When achievement becomes tied to safety, it can reshape how you connect. You may feel more lovable when you're productive. You may feel guilt when you're not bringing something. You may have trouble being present because part of your mind is planning the next move. Studies suggest that people who carry performance-based self-worth often struggle with receiving support, because support can trigger a feeling of exposure. If someone sees you resting, will they still respect you? If someone sees you struggling, will they still want you? Even when those fears aren't conscious, the nervous system can behave as if they're true. It also affects decision-making. Achievement anxiety often makes choices feel heavier than they need to be. You might overthink simple decisions because they feel like identity decisions. If your career isn't just a job, but a measure of your worth, every shift feels risky. If you believe you must use your potential, then choosing a calmer life can feel like failure, even when it brings peace. Research shows that when people perceive high stakes, their brain becomes more vigilant and less flexible. So you may keep options open longer, not because you're irresponsible, but because closing a door feels like losing safety. One of the most exhausting parts is that achievement anxiety can disguise itself as ambition. From the outside, it can look like drive. From the inside, it can feel like pressure. You're not chasing goals because you're excited. You're chasing goals because you're trying to quiet a fear that you're falling behind. And the fear doesn't go away just because you reach something. It adapts. It says, "Now keep it." It says, "Now prove it wasn't luck." It says, "Now do it again." Researchers have found that perfectionism and high self-criticism often increase in environments where people feel evaluated, compared, or uncertain about stability. Millennials often carry both the desire for meaning and the fear of instability at the same time. That creates an internal conflict. You want a life that feels real and fulfilling, but you also feel pressured to perform constantly so your life doesn't collapse. And that conflict can quietly drain mental energy because you're always trying to meet emotional needs through practical achievement. But there's also something important to notice here. Achievement anxiety isn't always a sign that you're broken. Sometimes it's a sign that your mind learned to cope through measurable progress. If the world felt unpredictable, your brain learned to create predictability through output. If the future felt uncertain, your brain learned to reduce uncertainty by staying prepared. Studies suggest that many high-functioning anxiety patterns are actually survival strategies that became permanent. They helped at one point. They just don't always turn off automatically. So the psychology of millennials and achievement anxiety isn't simply people trying too hard. It's what happens when success becomes emotionally loaded, when comparison becomes constant, and when stability feels like something you have to earn again and again. And if you felt that pressure, it may not mean you're failing at adulthood. It may mean your nervous system has been carrying the job of keeping you safe through performance for a long time. If this felt familiar, you can like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been carrying that quiet pressure too.